So, welcome to our informal review of a book that we picked up and we really love, called The Queen of the Tearlings by, oh god, I can't remember the author's name. Erika J something. I'm so sorry, we will put it at the bottom in titles.
So good! So good!
I had seen like a picture of it and I kind of read the summary and I was like, this sounds good. This has like everything I love in it.
And then I read it.
And then she read it and she was like telling me all about this book, blah 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 blah. And then she posted on Goodreads. I'm like, oh, it's that one. It's that good, huh? And so I immediately went out.
I think I gave it 5 stars.
You did.
Like
she never gives anything.
I never give anything 5 stars.
So. Okay, is it the most polished novel you've ever read?
Oh god, no, it's definitely got its faults, but...
And it kind of, yeah, just, you read it and you're like, holy crap. First of all, you're like, what am I reading? This book uses words that even adult books don't use. Including,
definitely had flashbacks to Kingdom of Little Wounds.
Yeah, where you're just like, what is this content? And I have come to the conclusion that new adult is the most bullshit category I have ever heard, because these books, there's no difference between this and an adult book. It's not even in the style of teen books. It's just adult fiction that they're kind of trying to market to the now should be adult fiction reading crowd. Should be adult fiction.
I came across this book because they had posters for it up on the subway. And yeah, they did. They had posters and it had the Emma Watson quote being like, "Oh, I couldn't put this down," and I'm just like. And then it was like, oh, now I'm acting and executive producing, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. And then I searched it online. It's like the book, she bought the book, like the rights to the book 2 weeks before the book came out, and I'm just like, well, crap, okay. And so I put it on hold at the library, and I have like, my to-read list is huge. And I'm like, okay, I have to renew it. And I couldn't renew it. So I'm like, I have 2 days. I have to read this gigantic book in 2 days.
No
problem. I was hooked. I was just like...
I know, me too. It was just like, I sat down and pretty much read the whole thing in a day.
Yeah,
it was just... Okay, so, what has happened in this book? This book, it's kind of in an older... I can't even describe to you the setting properly because they don't quite describe it properly, but basically what happens is at some point there was an exodus to this land by people who wanted to create a utopia. The person who created this particular land was called William Tearling.
And he basically wanted to have like
a perfect society.
So no religion,
they were allowed to bring a couple of books over. They had ships full of medics. Most of the medics
didn't make it. They call it the white ship with all the medicine and stuff went down.
So they kind of had to start from scratch in that point. Different kingdoms are at different points in building up.
But basically this society, the Tearling society, has just degenerated into European medieval feudalism.
Yeah. Like they don't have a lot of resources at all. They've got oak trees, that's about it. Mm-hmm. But at one point, the Red Queen decided that she wanted to take over a whole bunch of lands. And kind of she managed to make it so that the Tearlings had to pay her a tribute every year of so many hundreds of people. Or not even every year, like every month.
It's a monthly tribute of people.
And so what they do is a census to to see who gets put in the cages.
Think of it kind of like the Hunger Games, but like...
No Hunger Games.
No Hunger Games.
So our heroine's mother, Alyssa, was really useless. She signed this treaty, so it's been going on for like 20 years at least. She was assassinated, but why am I blanking on her name?
Kel. Her name is Kel.
Kel, what's so close to my own name? This is so stupid. Kelsey, I'm Chelsey. Oh my god. Anyways, Kelsey has been sent away and she's been trained, kind of like given like history lessons and a little bit of fighting lessons, and she's basically been kind of groomed for the throne by a former royal guard and a friend of her grandmother's. And the lady who's been teaching her history or whatever, she's kind of like a bitch.
She's cold.
Yeah, that's what it is. She's really cold and she's very kind of distant with Cal. And Barty, the the Royal Guard has kind of been more of like the loving figure in her life. She still really respects them, and she definitely loves them, but it's like now time to go. The Royal Guard has come to get her.
And that's when the book starts, when the Royal Guard has come to get her.
Just it becomes like a race to get home, basically,
before they can get assassinated, because there's this group of assassins
called the Caden,
that they're high trained assassins, and they're after her because the regent, her uncle, has hired them to kill her because he doesn't want her taking the throne.
She gets away because she's saved by the Fetch,
God,
who is apparently like ageless and just
beautiful. Like he's like
and he's like testing her because he's like, listen, we need somebody good on the throne, and if you're not it, like, that's it, you're done. I will kill you right here.
She is surrounded by all of these kind of strong male figures when she gets taken away. Like the Mace, who he isn't head of the guard when they're leaving, but he becomes head of the guard, and
he's just like the person who gets shit done.
He is so effective. It's amazing. But he still screws up. And
like he can't be everywhere.
That's his arc. He's so convinced that, you know what, I can do this. And he messes up. And when he messes up, it's just like he doesn't know how to deal with failure.
It's so interesting to like
these characters, man.
Anyways, the Fetch has been plaguing the regent for years. He can like find the regent when he's sleeping. He can just get in, get out.
He wears a mask.
So most people don't even know what he looks like, but she gets to see his face, and he's just like super attractive. Apparently he's been around for at least 20 years and probably hasn't aged. Anyways, so she has a jewel which slowly becomes more and more magical as things go on and helps her out. It's called the Heir's Jewel. There's two of them. They kind of click eventually. He takes one of them and is like, when you deserve it,
yeah,
I'll give it back. So off she goes. First thing she does as queen is get rid of the damn lottery, the slave lottery. She's like, that's it. No more of this. And I can't deal with it.
A lot of people are just like, people are really happy about this, but then there's also people like, you have basically declared war on the Red Queen, because in the contract, if the slaves don't show up, they have like a 7-day grace period. If they don't show up, she's going to invade again. And the last time she invaded, it didn't go very well.
Like, they just, like,
massacred them.
Like, straight line right to the capital. That was it. And yeah, so Kel is basically nearly assassinated at every turn. Eventually, there is the main antagonist isn't so much the Red Queen as this one guy who was running the census. He really likes having power and being able to do whatever he wants, and so he's kind of going behind her back and trying to get shipments of slaves so he can
back to
the queen.
There is so much going on, and this is the first book in a trilogy, and I can't believe I have to wait for the next book. Like, so good. I love the characters. I just love the world. I loved just everything about it. There are faults though, and I guess some of the world building I found a little bit.
It's a little shoddy.
A little shoddy, just because you don't know, is this supposed to take place in this world, or as you said, is this some kind of alternate dimension?
Like,
should we cross some kind of border?
Like, it doesn't make sense for it to actually be in our world, because
we would have known that there was another continent.
Yeah, we've got satellite imaging. And also there's magic, which we really don't have any of. So I'm gonna go with alternate dimension. It's a guess. I don't know. So I guess it's okay. Like, she gave you enough that you understand what's going on. I mean, we still have books that were saved from Rowling, J.K. Rowling, obviously, and
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and just I guess philosophers and
the Bible. There's one of the things I found really kind of fascinating was that when Robert Tearling was creating his little world, he didn't want religion, and how Christianity just kind of like when the guy gets assassinated, it just kind of somehow manages to like trickle in
and finally becomes like this major power because the regent let it become too much. But it's just the plot just keeps you engaged.
Oh, it's so good.
You know people are up to something and you're like, I don't know what it is, but holy crap, they need to like get on this, otherwise it's just going to be screwed
This
up.
book was marketed as Game of Thrones for girls. Now, I don't believe with that. I don't believe that, like, phrasing, because you know what? Game of Thrones is for everyone.
Like, yeah.
But I can kind of see what they mean when they say it's like Game of Thrones.
It's not Game of Thrones.
It's not Game of Thrones, but you have the beginnings of, like, the political intrigue. You have the beginnings of all these different characters doing all these different things. Everybody having their own motives.
And depth, yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you like Game of Thrones, you'll probably like this. And it does not, on any level, spare gory details.
Oh, it's like, it's
they use the C word. They have child rapists. They have multiple child rapists, and you're like, we're talking about this? And that's basically, like, what a lot of the slaves are going over there for, is they're going to end up, the children are probably going to end up with some pedophile, and, you know, the adult women are probably going to become bed slaves. Like, that's just the reality of it.
No holds barred. This is not a good society to be in, and our main character is going to have to, like, work really freaking hard to, like, try and fix this. And who knows if she's going to be able to fix this. Because everything she does, even if it's for the greater good, definitely has some negative consequences.
Oh, yeah. Like, especially her taking down the slavery system, because, yeah, she's now totally open to invasion. It's just how things are going to go down.
Invasion by a country that is more advanced than she is.
Like, really more advanced and more willing to be brutal, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just absolutely
I think one of the creepiest, like, little instances, it's so offhand, it's like when they're talking about slaves going over and how that, oh, the queen is so young looking, she, like the Red Queen, and how, you know, they are performing surgery and they're using the slaves for spare parts in certain cases.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Organ harvesting. All right. Yeah. They haven't, and she hasn't even given us everything, which is the wonderful part. Like, there are still things you really want to know. Like, the one thing they didn't give you is Mace's backstory. And at one point, Kel is like to Mace when they're kind of having, like, a good heart-to-heart. She's like, so everybody's lost, you just said everybody's lost something. What have you lost? And he just looks at her and he's like, everything. And you're just like, oh my god, what happened to you?
I love him so much. Like, he's just so direct. And I respect that.
Yeah.
Like, he says to her, he's like, I don't know if you are going to do your, like, I don't know if you're going to be good at this. And I will protect you. I am sworn to protect you. But I'm going to tell you, like, what, like, this is the way it is. This is what's happening. You're going to have to know.
Yeah.
And
just so good. And Kel, she's okay, she's not the smartest person ever, but she's, like, reasonably intelligent. Like, she's as intelligent as you would expect a normal person to be. Like, she's not a genius mastermind, but she's not dumb as a rock either.
She's a little impulsive. She has her flaws, but she definitely has her strengths. She's definitely a formed character.
Yeah. Even without knowing everything about her. What else? She's got her passion. She loves books. She loves reading. She's also, like, got that compassion, right? Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because at one point in the book, she gives you, like, little snippets of literature that I guess has been written after Kel's reign, and it's like, there are a ton of similarities between Kel and the Red Queen, but I think the biggest difference is that Kel's decisions are kind of mediated by compassion. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you look back at it, you're kind of like, yeah, I can see that. And it kind of promises more to come.
So if you haven't read this book, go read it. Oh my god.
Be warned, it will spare none of your feelings. Flashbacks to Kingdom of Little Wounds. Still scarred. I feel like I have lived through some kind of trauma reading that book. It was just...
Oh my gosh, Kingdom of Little Wounds.
One day we're going to do a formal review of that
One day
book.
we're just going to sit down and be like, this is how it is.
But that involves reading it again, and I don't know if I can deal with that. Oh, God.
Fairy tale about syphilis.
Just... Anyway, off topic.
Read read this book.
Tearling.
Please read it. It's amazing. And tell us what you think about it, because it's amazing.
Say it one more time.
It's amazing.
I can't believe I have to wait for this book.
I know, it's driving me crazy.
How long?
It doesn't say. When I was walking to the library, because I finished it, and I was like, I have to get this book to the library before the library closes. And I have the book in one hand, and I have my phone out in the other, and I'm like, sequel. It's not out yet. This book just came out like 3 weeks ago.
It did. I
And
know.
I was just like, no. I'm like, here I go again.
Better be March. I can't wait. I will read this book again happily.
Oh yeah, so good. So good.
So anyways, please read it, and if you have read it, please tell us what you think. Bye guys.
Bye.